Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's a Wnr550. It's AEW Grand Slam. I can't say AEW right because I'm just so excited about today, and I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by the entire WNR team. Up first by my side for every WWE and AEW show, it is the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. How's it going, Jaxie?
Hello. All going all well. I'm all in for a Grand Slam today. See what I did there?
See what you did there?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But usually I don't do too bad in these sort of events. So we'll see how me and AEW get on today, shall we?
Yeah. I think the heat's off a little bit because no predictions. So I guess there's going to be a little bit more friendly atmosphere, hopefully. Yeah. But again, Jaxie, let's say 550 shows. Where does the time go, eh? I mean, you've been around since 300 now.
I mean, we're old. We're just so old. I mean, in time flies when you're having so much fun talking about a show that you love. And when I say a show, I just mean like a sport. This has always just been one of those things where it doesn't really feel like it's a job anymore. It just feels like such a hobby. Being able to kind of talk about, a passion and being able to just kind of review it with friends. It's been fun. So thank you to everyone who's been listening so far and continuing to listen with us.
Did you do it elsewhere? If you say you do it with friends. Oh, no, you meant it. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, no, that's lovely. I shouldn't be ruining this moment.
Well, I was talking about Monty, but sure. I mean, we can say that you are half of one,
Hey, just Monty?
Well, you're my sister. That's different.
I'm also your best friend.
Yeah, that's all good.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, my best friend is here as well, so can't leave her out.
Thanks. Anyway, I would like to thank every follower, listener, subscriber, and viewer. We really wouldn't do it without you. Another person we couldn't do it without is our New Japan demigod and NXT expert. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
It's going good. Although I do not have an AEW adjective, I am excited to be here. So,
but it's 550th. It would be rude not to. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have been along the ride. I think every show, especially for the last couple of years now. So I appreciate you.
Been a long time. I don't know, man. I don't know how you keep up with this. So the fact that you, like you said, the fact that we're here is amazing. Every time. I think a few times ago I mentioned something about possibly being here for episode 1000, and it's looking very, very possible because we keep getting closer and closer, faster and faster.
Joked at the time. Yeah.
Insane.
Anyway, I apologise. Oh, thank you very much. I thought someone was going to say that. I mean, Jaxie didn't, but no, thank you. But it's about you. It's about you and the people listening today. And I have to apologise in advance for this. Because last but by no means least. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Don't fuck him up. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'ma do my stuff while you're trolling like a bitch and you're tired trying to struck a chord and it's probably A minor. They not like us. They not like us. They not like us. Right, stop it. I'll stop it. Sorry. The Kendrick Lamar to the WNR. It is Gina. How's it going, man?
Mustard. What it do, gang?
I mean, some people have accused me of being old, but I'm cool now, G and I. Do you know what I'm saying?
You're staying hip, James. That's what we're doing.
Monty wonders why I don't do up-to-date stuff. God. Anyway, what a show we have today. All of AEW. Basically, Dynamite, Collision, and Grand Slam. Last time we checked in with AEW, we had just watched and reviewed World's End. But Gina, you're here. It would be rude not to. Can I just ask about the Ricky Stark situation? How you feeling about everything?
You mean Ricky Saints? I'm not mad. I'm glad he is back on RTV. And I've now got to find some time to start watching NXT more regular because he's on there. So no, I'm not mad at it. I also understand the fact that like he's on NXT rather than the main show. I think I prefer that at the moment. I think, get him on NXT first. I think that will work well. And then he can move up to the main roster when there's kind of like more space for him, because right now there's so many main storylines going on, and I don't really want him going up there to become some jobber, you know. So yeah, I'm not mad at it. I'm happy to just have him on our screens again.
And you don't mind a name change?
Now, at first, I kind of didn't like it, but then when I realized that he is from New Orleans, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, fair. I mean, again, if you want to catch up with NXT, there is a handy little podcast that kind of wraps up the month's action really handily. But we'll talk more later. Speaking of releases, look, we saw Malachi Black and Miro. They've left, and possibly Ray Phoenix. But Jaxie, I'll ask you this: is it a big loss? And they weren't really being used as much, and surely be better elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's really sad to say, because I feel like House of Black was like such a highlight and a strength when they were used to their strengths, and when they were sort of running the trios division, just everything from that sort of era, like they really made like trios wrestling just such a joy to watch when it came to AEW wrestling. I feel like it's a loss when it comes to sort of like the group of House of Black being kind of broken like this, because of Brody King, Buddy Matthews, Aleister Black, Malachi Black, sorry, and Julia Hart just made such a great faction, and they were literally one of my favorite factions within AEW. And whilst I know that the other wrestlers are going to thrive, even though Malachi is not there, I feel like I'm just a little bit gutted, because if you think back to the last time they were champions, we got to see them lose it at All In live, and we never saw them re-pick up the belts again. And I think that there was a shame of them not being trios champions, like at least the second time around before he left, especially because there was a lot of time that they still had a lot of time in between that. But did I see this coming? I really did. We've got to think that Malachi's wife Zelina is on WWE. I think there was creative frustrations with sort of Vince, and I think that like Malachi had a great working relationship with Triple H that could see him, brought back into the wrestling picture in a decent light. What I won't be happy with, and what I'm apprehensive with, is whether or not they're going to flop his return. So let's just hope, and pray that they're going to, book him correctly. It's all about how he's going to be booked at the moment he's back, to be honest, as to whether or not his momentum will pick back up. So I just really hope, because again, I don't really like to do comparisons, but we've seen sort of like the return or lackluster return of like Andrade, in my opinion, and things haven't really gone far for him as of yet. And that's not to say things won't pick up for him, but I just kind of like, I don't want the same thing to happen to Malachi. I don't want the same thing to happen to Rusev or Miro if he also returns to WWE, just like they both have been like subjected to bad booking. And so I don't need them to go back to this another company that they already worked with and left with because of bad booking, just to actually suffer bad booking again. So I just really hope this isn't a repeated circle for both wrestlers. But I am excited to have them back on our screens. They're both amazing talents, and whether they're in AEW or WWE, I'm going to be grateful as long as they're on our screens.
Well, that's the question as well, Monty. I'll have to ask you, will all three go to WWE, and is everybody leaving AEW now, going to WWE? It seems that way.
Yeah, it do kind of seem that way. I mean, I think maybe they all three could end up back there. I don't know if it's going to be timed the same. Like, I think, like you just mentioned, Malachi being back and possibly showing up like after Mania, that I can see. That make a lot of sense. But at the same time, I mean, currently, like in the women's division, and we just talked about everything on the main roster, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of spots currently filled. And I think part of the thing we'll see how things go with Andrade, and we'll see how things go in general. But I mean, it's just a lot of stuff going on. And if they don't have a storyline already in place for you, or if you're not already in prime position for a WrestleMania moment, right now it's not really looking clear. This time of year is always kind of tough to get through into the fold. So But maybe, like I said, after Mania, when things are a little bit clearer and all of that, I can see maybe Miro at some point, and like I said, Malachi coming in and all of that. But I think at the end of the day, the thing is about it is AEW losing these talent don't really. It's not the backbreaker or whatever that maybe some people may think it is. I think maybe it's just kind of showing you what a healthy wrestling business looked like. I mean, you remember when WCW was actually competent, and the same thing with WWE. It was every other week you will see a guy that you just saw on Raw pop up on Nitro, and the same thing is starting to happen with AEW being healthy for this long, and vice versa. So. I don't know what that means for each talent. Like you mentioned, there's so many ways that things can go. But I am optimistic that if they do come back, like Malachi and all of that, I think it's gonna be a chance to do something different and do something fresh, and that's gonna be the challenge. Can they come back and do something different than what happened in their first run? And the thing is with AEW is we talk about it. It's so many opportunities that are there, but at the same time, they have so much talent to where you're like, well, yeah, they could be using this person, that person, but they're also trying to build new stars. They're also trying to do this and do that. So it's hard to really say where things are going, particularly if things are going wrong for them. And then, like you mentioned, they did a good job of basically making these people relevant to their show. Maybe in the early days or years ago, this would look worse for AEW. But since they've been focusing and prioritizing other talent, losing these talents doesn't really hurt as much as you would think. But I don't want WWE to rush into just trying to sign all these talent and then not have anything for them. I think at the end of the day, we all want concise plans and actual directions for these guys because like mentioned earlier, that's why they're free again. Basically they haven't whether it was WWE the first time, whether it was AEW, they did not end up with clear, concise plans, and that's what I want for them, no matter what they do next.
I think without doubt. I think it's a shame we didn't see like a proper Miro run, even though he did hold the TNT title for a while. But again, like you said, it's sticks and stones in it. It comes around and we'll see what happens. But we're going to catch up properly now with AEW. And we had Christopher Daniels beating the shit out of Adam Hangman Page, but he got his revenge, winning in a death match and retiring Christopher Daniels. Speaking of the Cowboy, he saw his life flash before his eyes as Big Show came out to Swerve's theme during the Battle Royal, which Hobbs won, then lost to Mox the following week. But the question is, does he feel guilt over Daniels? I mean, Jackson, this is an interesting one because Adam Page, and we can speak about him a lot, the character, but to the point, what he did to Crystal Daniels and the fallout from it, it's just, he does feel guilt, doesn't he?
You could tell that like there's an inner battle happening with him now. Like he's become one of those wrestlers that right now I can't tell if he's face or heel, and there's this just real inner turmoil, I think, that he's got within himself, and you're actually starting to see that play out within his wrestling character. He is quite confusing. You don't really know what side you're going to get from him, but right now there's just a serious amount of aggression within Hangman Page and I don't particularly know if it's aimed at any one person or just everyone in general. Like he's a ticking time bomb right now, and you could just look at him the wrong way and he's just going to start an absolute war with you because he took that personally. He's the epitome of that right now. Like I took that personally. So just watch yourselves on AEW, guys, because Hangman ain't playing about right now.
No, he's got the best crazy look going as well, there's no doubt. But just a moment for Crystal Daniels. Monty, as you know, I'm an old man, so I've seen Daniels wrestle. And Steve Matara, he was a fantastic performer, there's no doubt. Maybe not the main event star, but definitely someone that will get remembered in the whatever Hall of Fame he wants to go into.
Yeah, and he did have Ring of Honor World Championship run. Like he did have like main event times, but I know what you mean. It's like mostly known for like the X division, or just like you said, just being all around great wrestler in Impact and Ring of Honor, and he's doing it a long time. I remember when Christopher Daniels had hair, and I remember when he was an extra, fighting dark matches for WWE way in the early 2000s. So yeah, man, it was cool. Christopher Daniels is one of those guys that I don't know if he ever will probably receive or properly receive the respect he probably deserves for being what he is, because I don't know if he's not just a trailblazer, but like, for example, the type of attention that Bryan Danielson got for his way out. I'm not saying Christopher Daniels would deserve that, but they are more similar than maybe your average wrestling fan would think, if you just going off what they've accomplished and what they were capable of in the ring, and how they were able to be groundbreaking. I mean, he can always say he was the first AEW tag champs too. So he also got like legendary status for AEW. So just think about that: legendary status in Ring of Honor, AEW, and his run in Impact, and that's just pretty. That's pretty legendary in itself, right there. You know, he's one of those guys you can put right alongside the Samoa Joes, the AJ Styles, Motor City Machine Guns for basically being those guys who made TNA different from WWE in the 2000s. So yeah, man, I always love Christopher Daniels. I always have nothing but respect for him. He's a great guy outside the ring too. So and then him going out the way he did, telling a good story with Hangman, I think is really fitting for a guy like him. And yeah, man, I love Christopher Daniels. I always have best moonsault ever. Would not be a prettiest moonsault if it wasn't for the best. I think some people may not realize that, because I saw someone talk about Jacob Fatu's moonsault, and they were talking about, yeah, thanks to Tiffany Stratton. I'm like, these kids don't even know. Yeah. I'm like these people who think Tiffany Stratton came up with that move. But anyway, yeah. So Christopher Daniels, Fallen Angel gimmick back in the day. Had when I was a kid, I literally thought something was creepy about him because he had the thing on his eye. So a lot of fond memories growing up watching Christopher Daniels. So really cool, great career. And I don't know, like you mentioned, how he would ever get probably the proper accolades he would deserve. But if AEW does get get a Hall of Fame, or if we do already have an independent wrestling Hall of Fame, there's no way Christopher Daniels shouldn't already be in it, or definitely have his spot ready for him when they decide to do it. So he's a legend, and again, what a way to go out.
Yeah, and without a doubt. And again, the triple threat match between him, Samoa Joe, and AJ Styles kind of cemented TNA
Still
back in the day.
But Impact match ever, yeah, in my opinion.
But again, influenced people like Will Ospreay and everybody like this who was kind of growing up and watching that as well. Speaking of Will Ospreay, he beat Buddy in a banger. Willow Statlander and Storm had a fun triple threat match. Tony will face May after winning the Casino Gauntlet. Pac is back, but no signs of the trio titles. But Kenny Omega beat Brian Cage in his return to AEW action. And Gina, we spoke about this on Dynasty, but seeing Kenny back on AEW TV, first, they definitely needed him, but he's come back, and it's amazing to think that this guy hadn't wrestled for so long, the way he's taken like a duck to water again.
Yeah, 100%. I honestly would not have thought that he's been out on injury. They definitely needed him back on TV as well. I feel like the storylines have just got more intense with him being added into the mix. And again, he's so charismatic. You can't not hear his music and just already be excited as to what match or what segment you're about to get from him. So I'm super excited to see him back. I hope he does, continue to practice carefully so that he doesn't get injured again right away. But again, I'm just super excited to see, what possibilities we have in storylines for him going forward.
Yeah, but it's funny you say that, and then him and Ospreay went like balcony diving, and you're thinking, okay, I need to set up a tag match, but like you said, be a little bit careful, Kenny.
Yeah, honestly, that I was stressed. I was stressed watching that. Even though it was amazing to see in the end and they both pulled it off well, I was still so stressed. Like, Kenny, don't take yourself out again so soon. So yeah, thankfully he was okay. But yeah, just refrain from doing that every week, please.
Now Samoa Joe returned to help Hook. The private party tag title reign didn't last long. The Hurt, don't call them business, beat them with ease. I mean, great for Shelton. Makes sense for Bobby if he does want to lose to Swerve. Bobby has won gold in WWE, ECW, Impact, and AEW. Not many can say that, Jaxie. It's impressive for Bobby, but it's a shame for private party.
It is. It is, and I think it's a shame because it feels like they didn't get a long enough run. But I feel like you would have set Bobby and Shelton back with like the impact that they've made first coming into AEW. That's made it like more like a necessity in order to solidify kind of their strength, and especially with sort of like Lashley coming off of this sort of like overpowering like win from Swerve. Like you kind of have to give him something to continue solidifying that sort of dominance, you know. So this kind of needed to happen. So it's an unfortunate series of events, but I mean they'll pick up like the Ring of Honor tag titles or something at some point, won't they?
Yeah, I mean that's the spirit, you know.
I mean,
that's
well, I'm trying to think of like what a plus line is for them right now, and they could still like capitalize and be like, oh, fuck it, we'll take the Ring of Honor tag titles then, because there ain't no way we're gonna get it back from Shelton and Bobby. But yeah, like I said, I just think that like if they hadn't immediately gone for the Street Profits and like won the gold, or if they'd have gone for the Street Profits and not won the gold, that probably would have set them back as a group and like sort of like what they're trying to do with them as a group. So it's unfortunate, but it kind of was a necessity in order to kind of put over like the Hurt Syndicate as a formidable team. So we'll see where things go from here, though.
Yeah, I mean, things can only get better, really, you know. Can we get more musical challenges like Harley Cameron did with Monet? I mean, I love her, and we can talk more. The heart doesn't always win. Jamie Hayter beat her. Then they disappeared from television, it seems. Cole beat Pac on Dynamite. Ospreay beat Cage. Double J couldn't beat Claudio. The feud with MJF continues. Gene, I want to get your thoughts. Are you a fan of Double J, or are you just wondering what this sad old man is doing on our television?
No, he needs to retire. He needs to get gone now. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate everything he did, especially in the Attitude Era as well. I still remember him going around with Deborah before she went off with Stone Cold. So it's not like I don't have respect for the work he's done, but his time is gone. His time is done. Like, retire, go off, be happy and live your best life, and help the younger talent now.
It does seem like Tony, like it does seem like Tony like is just giving too much like time to sort of the legends in a way that's like actually doing a disservice to the sort of like newer talent of wrestling. And it just, yeah, I don't think it just needs to be as longed out as it has been.
Yeah, I think at least we all would agree, you know. I'm glad about that. Monet retained versus Yuki Sakazaki on Collision. If you mess with the ball, you get the urns. Sorry, I had to get that out of my system. Bandito is back. He's feuding with the Learning Tree, the poor fucker. Nigel McGuinness said the Outrunners are two men with one brain. Buddy called Okada a bitch. And Harley Cameron, who I've mentioned before, will mention again, beat Taya Valkyrie for her first win on TV. Monet thinks she's a loser. But how many ventriloquists are losers? Eh? She's been a bright light in a stacked women's division, which not really got a lot of time when you considers, Thunder Rosa, Gianna Prazzo, Shida, Rose, now the debut in Megan Bain. I mean, Monty, we spoke about it before. The talent's there. Maybe we're just too used to NXT, but we just don't get enough. Like we said, we had the Hater feud, and that kind of been dropped now for like the Megan Bain feud.
Yeah, I think we're spoiled, but I think it's just that revolving door mentality. We're spoiled with NXT because even like we mention this all the time, I don't think anybody will force a segment to see all of his women weekly like Shawn Michaels. So like it doesn't matter if they don't have anything to do. You're gonna at least see a backstage segment and see some see some of the girls that may not have wrestled in 3 weeks, but they're on television doing something, some type of promo or whatever. And I think that visibility sometimes is really makes you want, like you mentioned, basically at the depth of the talent, and like you mentioned, they have that. It's a lot of credible women on this roster, for AEW right now. And like you mentioned, add someone like Megan Bang, who is just incredible. I love her work in Stardom. I was wondering why the hell they were taking so long to even, let her come to AEW, and now that she's here, she's making an impact. And I think she's going to be good for them. But the thing is about AEW, you can't really ever say just how strong it is, because you would think by now booking Jamie Hayter in a title feud or something would be a home run at this point. You think it would already have happened. Just think about when she returned. You guys were there. That's how long she's basically been back. And it hasn't been really consistent. Yeah, her booking hasn't been consistent. Like, she's here, like you mentioned, she have a little feud, a couple matches, and then next thing you know, we don't see her again for 3 weeks. Yeah, but even that
feud has been lackluster. I'm really sorry. Exactly. I love both Jamie and Julia, but like, it came from nowhere and it resulted in nothing. Like, it felt pointless.
Exactly. So it's just so inconsistent across the board. And we know we're going to get something involving Mercedes. We know Tony Storm, and Tony's going to get focused and she returned. But we basically know her and Mariah May have been occupied, and basically, even when they weren't really directly feuding, we knew that they were going to come back to that. So while we know those things are guaranteed, everything else when it comes to the women's division is as random as can be at times, So it's hard to really just focus and get invested, because I couldn't tell you exactly what was coming next. Like, you can tell who has the focus right now, like you mentioned. Right now, for the next few weeks or whatever, it's probably going to be Megan Bang. Her Harley has been hot, so they're probably going to get her on television. But as far as like the deepness of that roster you just mentioning, and seeing Thunder Rosa consistently, or seeing Sheeta, and it's as random as it gets, and that's why it's hard to really put your finger down on, or that's why you don't even really feel like this women's roster is as deep and as talented as it is, because we don't really see most of that talent consistently.
Yeah, without doubt. Swerve and Ricochet had a cool sit down. Tony Storm told us she was playing a role and wants Mariah in Australia. And then we had the TNT Championship three-way match. Daniel Garcia defending against Kyle O'Reilly and pure champion Lee Moriarty. But Gina, I'm going to ask you this. Does the TNT title matter anymore? Because it used to be like the secondary title. Now I don't know what the fuck it is.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, when the TNT title first came into play, I feel like it was held a lot more higher. When Brody had it, when Cody had it, it just seemed a lot more on top tier title, Now it kind of feels a little bit like WWE's hardcore title or something, like, I don't know. I'm not keen, put it that way. But I think it needs a bit more elevation again to show like how prestige the TNT title was supposed to be.
Yeah, because the thing is, I think they've forgotten is like they thought, like I said, the champion makes a title, and it's not that really. It shouldn't really be that title should make the wrestler. So people like, Okada and Ospreay and whoever coming in, Takeshita, be like, these are your champions. And it's like, so what's Daniel Garcia then? Like you said, it's just like a low rate Ring of Honor title, isn't it? You know, you're going. But again,
like the international belt is more of a higher prestige than the TNT at the moment. And is that because it's Okada that holds it and that Daniel Garcia holds the other one? I don't know, because the previous kind of holders of the TNT title, it does seem to go down in prestige. And I don't mean that to be rude to the wrestlers who hold it, but it just feels that way.
Yeah, without doubt. Talk about Darby Allin's reign and everything like that. It should be talked about. And again, it's kind of been forgotten in a weird way. Anyway, FTR beat Claudio and Yuta in a Deep South match, something, I don't know. Dynamite, Cope again challenged Moxley to an AEW World title match at Revolution. The champion declined. The Switchblade set up a different challenge for a tag match at Grand Slam in a Brisbane Bull, which the Death Riders accepted. Ospreay beat Don Callis' family's newest member. It was Mark Davis. Wait, hang on a minute. When did this happen? Jackson, what's going on here? He had problems with Callis for weeks, no repercussions, disappeared, and now coming to the spot. Or did I miss something?
Seriously, no. I was gonna ask you the same thing because I was gonna ask if I missed something because the last time that he was around, he had issues with Don, and now he's coming back all besties. I was like, since when? What was he doing? Paying your medical bills? Like what? I'm so confused as to why he's all of a sudden just automatically turned up and he's like, yeah, me too. Like if it's for relevance, mate, you're there to just eat pins because I don't know what you were doing there, but yeah, really baffled by that. And I don't know if that would have been I would have actually had Mark rejoin back up with Will.
Something turning him when they were teaming up a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Like that could have even added more drama. But I wouldn't have had him straight away come out and be like, yeah, I'm part of the Don Callis family, but you don't need to know why. You know?
Yeah.
So weird.
It's awful. Anyway, the Guns returned to challenge the Hurt Syndicate. Takeshita and Fletcher defeated the Hounds of Hell. And Dustin showed Double J how it's really done with MJF. And Tony Storm did a Bet Mariah May, then May. I mean, why can't the men's division start doing this? We've seen the women's, dressing up as each other. Roxanne dressed up as Bailey, Storm as May, and vice versa. Can we have that in the men's division? Or won't that work? Am I just pissing up the wrong tree there? Come on, guys. Let's do this. Can't be gender biased. Anyway, in the main event...
They're kind of slacking a little.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's not just me. Thank God I'm not alone. Because, you can't...
No.
Anyway. In the main event, Ricochet beat Swerve thanks to a low blow and stole his robe, more importantly. I mean, Monty, I don't care if you beat me with scissors and pin me. You take my robe, man. That's business.
Wrestlers are weird. That's what I say about that. That's what you decide to take personal. But yeah, no. He took his robe. I don't know what else you want me to say about it.
No. As in, but he took his robe. But the victory, I mean, I know robe, stolen aside. Ricochet pin his Swerve, maybe a bit surprised for someone, maybe solidifying Ricochet's heel.
I mean, he needed it though. You got to get this new version of Ricochet over. For a lot of people, this is their first time even thinking about Ricochet as a bad guy. So, at least him being more of an a-hole. So, I think he needs the victory. Is it shocking? Sure, but I think that's why you make Swerve so strong. That's why you build a guy up so strong that when you do need to bring somebody to that level, a loss doesn't really make them look bad, especially when they're doing, everybody knows how talented Ricochet is. So the fact that he's now taking shortcuts or whatever, or the egomaniac, that type of stuff is just adding to the story. And eventually you have to assume that this means we're going to see this again, or this is not over. So that's always a good thing in these situations. But yeah, man, I think Ricochet needed the victory, but he's been doing pretty good. I think a lot of people wasn't some people may still not be sold on him in this character, but I think so far him and Swerve has had pretty good chemistry, and they're doing a pretty good job of getting what they're trying to do across.
You're right. And he stole his robe. So, all that.
And he stole his robe.
Yeah. On Collision, Harley Cameron concert. I mean, is there anything she can't do? When they interrupted and got called a cunt. And then we had a great segment with May and Storm. Mariah won a squash match. Afterwards, she opened up a bag. Mariah May dressed her opponent like Tony Storm, smearing lipstick across the face. Luther, the butler, returned. He was carrying a tray with a bloody shoe on it. Mariah May spat at him, quite deservedly so. Went back to her opponent, but it was timeless. Tony Storm, who had traded places. She headbutted Mariah, thought she can flip more punishment. May got away. But Gina, this may be the best storyline in wrestling at the moment, especially this past year, let alone AEW. It's definitely AEW. There's no doubt. It's just layers. It's like an onion.
Yeah, I 100% agree. This storyline has gone on for a long time, but it's been told so well, especially because there's been slight breaks in between, when Tony lost the belt to Mariah and went off, came back and was in a different persona. So she wasn't necessarily gunning straight for Mariah. She was in the tournament. So they've had battles and stuff in between, but the storyline has still subtly been there. And the payoff for it has just worked out just as well. Like, if anything, I think Tony's even more over it than she was when she first had the belt. So it's worked out really well. And it had, like you said, it has been one of the most, solidified storylines in AEW at the moment. You just mentioned about how sporadic Jamie Hayter's storylines have been since she's returned. It's actually nice to have a consistent female storyline going on, and to actually be this invested into it as well. So hats off to both Mariah and Tony, because they've kept us into this throughout this entire time.
Yeah, and again, it's crazy to think they would look at this and go, well, this is working really well. Let's not do anything else. Let's not have the writers work with more wrestlers and create more storyline, because again, whoever's writing this, it's working.
Yeah, exactly. So they should definitely keep this writer on board and ask them to do more.
Lance Storm was backstage, apparently. I mean, Tony Schiavone had flashbacks. Dynamite, Adam Page beat Max Caster. Death Riders defeated Undisputed Kingdom to retain the Trios Championship. They were defending for the first time in what feels like years. Harley Cameron delivered a rap to Mercedes Moné using the CEO's theme, but she shut it down to get serious, talking what the opportunity meant to her. Loved it. MJF and Dustin went to war. Hangman made the save. Official struggled to stop the brawl and then went into the crowd. And Jaxie, we mentioned Adam Page earlier, and again showing the fire here to come out, and him and MJF, and you just I don't think we have had that, and the story is there. Like I said, that two great guys.
Yeah, I mean, this was something that I didn't actually see kind of happening. I didn't see MJF being sort of the next target for Hangman, but it's left me with a lot of intrigue, because I think you're right. I don't think we've really seen them one-on-one, have we? But again, it also goes back to saying at this point, I don't know if we're supposed to view Hangman as a heel or a face, especially now going off against MJF is kind of are we supposed to take in that face or heel value? So that's still TBC.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I love about it as well. We want Page to kind of embrace. We know he's good. There's good in him.
Exactly. There's an inner turmoil that he's fighting here, So I'm just here for the ride. There's so much intrigue in this storyline already, and this is what it means to put the time in for it. And this is where a few storylines or a few wrestlers haven't sort of picked up momentum is from lack of storyline or lack of intrigue. So there's ups and downs for AEW when it comes to how well they're investing in the creative storylines that they're putting in with their wrestlers. But this is something right now that's working.
Yeah, without a doubt. Megan Bain won a squash. Statlander interrupted Bain's walkout for her entrance, and then Chris beat Penelope. Afterwards, Ford knocked Statlander out of the ring, followed by Bain, laying her out with an F5. Lashley and Benjamin defeated Austin and Colton by pinfall to retain the titles. And the Death Riders leader agreed to face Rated R Superstar for the championship at Revolution. Copeland smashed the lock of the briefcase as the Death Riders descended. Death Riders got the briefcase back. But again, I think everybody else, the wrestlers, care more about the briefcase than any of us do. I don't know if that would be right or wrong, but I could give a fuck about the briefcase. I know it's like a symbol of AEW inside, but so what, But again, Monty, this was the final build towards Grand Slam. So at that point, I think they did quite a good job, kind of, and obviously with Revolution coming up as well, there was a balancing act to be had.
Yeah, I think they did better than they've done maybe in the past, like you said, balancing it out. Because sometimes they would have these shows like a Grand Slam or have some of these cards, and but the focus of the actual television before that was probably more towards the bigger show or more towards one show than the other. So they did a good job of really trying to building both shows or building cards towards both shows. So like I said, going into this, I didn't really know what to really expect. I kind of just watch AEW from a more casual point of view. I try not to be. I feel like if I sit there and I'm too critical or I overthink what's going on, I either get lost or I get frustrated. So I just tend to sit back and watch it. And I think just sitting back and watching them build towards Australia, it was a very enjoyable build leading up to the big show. And for them going into a new market too, I thought they did a really good job. And then even though you can kind of tell if you look at the card, you can kind of tell some of the things that were here were definitely okay. We're going to Australia. Let's do this, let's do that. I still think they did a good job of, like you mentioned, James, of keeping everything in line with making sense going towards Revolution 2.
Yeah, without a doubt. So then we go then. Grand Slam, Australia, February 15th. And this was meant to be a pay-per-view. It was announced to take place at the Suncorp Stadium, stadium capable of holding over 50,000 people. The plans were changed and it was moved to the Brisbane Entertainment Centre, holding a capacity of 13,000 people. And again, 13,000 people in a new market as it was might be a really good thing. But the problem was they were charging pay-per-view level prices for these tickets. So you can tell the fans weren't really happy, especially when a couple of fans or a few fans spent thousands of dollars on this event only to find out it was, in fact, I shouldn't laugh, but it was a collision, So again, maybe not the best thing. I mean, it's not, I don't know, Monty, you know what I mean? It's times will change with stuff like that, but they have to be careful because you're going to alienate people with that.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, it's a brand new market, and I think as much as they love their hometown stars of like Tony Storm and even Harley Cameron, I know, and just everybody who represents Australia, I get it. But you from a marketing standpoint, you got to have your ducks in a row. You just got to be prepared. Places like Australia don't get a lot of live entertainment from American promotions as consistently as other like European countries and stuff like that. It's such a long trip. So that fan base of rabid, they love wrestling and they love entertainment when they get it. And like you mentioned, to kind of do, I'm not gonna say bad business because I can understand, but once you make the shift and you know that you weren't gonna have enough for the pay-per-view, you probably have to do a pivot all the way around when it comes to pricing and all of that. But I also understand that it costs money to get to Australia. We had to pay this, we had to cover this, we had to, ask this favor from this promotion and do all of that. So I get it, AEW. I think times like this when you realize, and this is what I'll be trying to get people to understand, not that I'm even trying to compare the two at all, but it's like this is where you can't compare WWE and AEW at all because WWE, you can tell WWE has been around for a long time. They're established. They got backers. They got relationships. AEW is still a brand new company, and they're going into new markets. And when you have stuff like that, whether it's promotion wise, whether it's whatever details that they couldn't get ironed out properly enough in time, or maybe they were just too confident because of how well they've done in the UK. I know that probably could have did too. They've done so well in those stadium shows that they were like, you know what, we can do an Australia stadium. And it's just like, I don't know, man. You're going to have to make sure that you do the right amount of promotion and that you got everything together the proper way. But again, like considering everything, they did get it together. And I do think overall gave people a good product. But I can't be mad at anybody who's mad for paying pay-per-view prices. And then you find out the whole world can just watch it. And so it's not even it's not even exclusive. It's just, that's kind of deflating. I can't lie.
No, I mean, this is the thing in Gina, isn't it? Like when we went to the Clash and I had to book like the room, hotel room early and all this lot. Then we got there and it ended up being like a main event taping. We wouldn't be very happy. But again, once we saw the arena and the show, we were like, okay, it still looked good, you know.
Yeah, it definitely still looked good. We still had a good time regardless. But yeah, I get what I'm agreeing with you both.
Anyway, we start the action with Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega versus Takeshita and Carl Fletcher. And we, of course, saw all the fans in the arena here as the opening bout. Ospreay and Omega got a huge ovation as well. And Fletcher got a big pop as well. The crowd was chanting, "This is awesome," for anyone even made contact. Ospreay and Fletcher opted to start for their teams. Began brawling as soon as the bell rang. Crowd gave Omega a big pop when he tagged in with a high crossbody. The match came close to ending several times. They finally concluded with Ospreay and Omega combining their finishes to get the pin on Takeshita. Jaxie, this is a great way to open the show.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say this was the perfect way. The crowd were lit from beginning to end. I was lit from beginning to end. Like, this was just a great showcase, a great tag team. Everyone just worked so well together, you know. There were so many high moments. Like, I think if you're not going to go and watch this whole event, at least watch the opening match. It was just awesome.
Yeah, and again, there was big, like I said, controversy, Monty, about the smaller ring. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't notice it to begin with.
I didn't know anything at all.
I'm gonna be honest with you, James. Like, stuff like this is why I just like this is why I try my best to keep any negative or any nitpicks about AEW. I don't even say them anymore because it's just like, what the hell are we complaining? What the hell are we talking about, man? Like, all right, the ring was probably a little smaller, like you mentioned, James. We damn sure can tell on television. So who actually came up with this whole talking point to try to make to try to be like, I got you. Like, it's actually people online trying to act like, yeah, look at this Bush League stuff. It's like, do you even understand why a smaller ring is a problem? Because I know casual fans don't. Like, explain to me what's the difference, or what did you guys pick up as viewers that you can tell that was so bad about that smaller ring? I didn't see it because it showed didn't affect the four guys who started off this show, like you guys just mentioned. So I don't know, man. Like I said, sometimes people are just disingenuous, and you really start to find out that some people are disingenuous. Like, you have critiques about AEW. Yes, I can sit here and critique AEW and say this and say that all day, but to sit here and just rag on them because they asked a Australian promotion for their ring or whatever because they couldn't ship a ring over or whatever people are trying to complain about. It's just like, what the hell are we doing, man? What are we doing, Jay?
I don't know. But again, I mean, not to, you know, I mean, Gina asked you this. Was this a 5-star matchup for you? Because it did get rated 5 stars by Meltzer. Not that I care, but I thought it was a good opener, but I don't know how it would rank against other matches.
I mean, I definitely feel like out of all of the matches on the match card, this was the 5-star worthy one. But I do feel like we have seen, you know, more 5-star matches from both of these guys. So yeah, I don't know, because for me, I think it would be between like 4.5 and 4 3/4 for sure, at least.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway, Omega challenged
Who you said gave it
Takeshita.
5 stars? Who gave it 5 stars?
Meltzer, didn't he?
Oh, Meltzer did, right? So who was in this match? Was Ospreay in this match?
It would be the equivalent of a Gunther Ilya Dragunov match not getting 5 from me. I understand that.
I'm just saying,
he's got his favourites.
Ospreay can slip and fall in the ring and wrestle the puddle that he slipped in, and he's gonna give it 5 stars. So if they do, all they have to do is go in there and do a good job, and you might get 5 stars from Meltzer, especially with Omega and Takeshita involved. Not me saying it's not 5 stars. I'm just saying Meltzer, when you see.
But did you rate it 5 stars then? Did you think this was like this 5 for you? If we
I can't say it's not 5 because I would probably say like 4.5, but like my thing, that's why I said I don't think it's negative. I just thought it was a really good tag match. For me, 5 stars, I need story, I need stakes, I need something else, or I just need something that I've never seen before. And I don't think it was any of that. But at the same time, I can't argue that if somebody said it's a 5-star match to them, I'm not gonna argue with him. But when it comes to him, I just know that all Ospreay has to do is do a good job and no one gets hurt, and he will probably give Ospreay 5 stars.
Well, we saw Omega challenging Takeshita and Ospreay challenge Fletcher in a cage, both for Revolution. And then we got Australia's own Harley Cameron having the biggest opportunity of her AEW career when she challenged Mercedes Moné for the TBS Championship. They locked up. Mercedes tried a big time Harley a bit by taunting her while hitting a body slam. Ventura Chris found her Mercedes puppet under the ring and held onto it while she hit some mounted punches in the corner. Look, if I'm laughing whilst reading, it was funny whilst watching. The CEO ripped the puppet away, stomped on it, and kicked it out of the ring. Cameron used the puppet to taunt Moné later in the match as she built some momentum, but sadly for her, Mercedes was too much. Moné hit a finisher and scored the win to retain her title. But Gina, I know Moné can have 5-star matches, but again, with Harley Cameron there, we've got a bit of story and someone who can actually get behind. This wasn't too bad.
Yeah, again, I think we've all spoken in this pod highly of Harley Cameron. She is definitely taken, the small 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes here and there that she gets, and she's made the most of it. And she had so many people backing her in this match. Did we think she was going to win it? No. But were we excited for this match? Yes, because we knew that we were going to get entertainment from Harley, especially. But Banks also really plays into it really well. She plays the annoyance, getting annoyed at Harley really well. And it just works, Like I said, Harley got a lot of people behind her just from those short segments that she did utilize her time with. And I think I'm the type of person, I like goofy matches sometimes. And again, even though they both wrestled quite well in my eyes, I still see, the puppet, her bringing the puppet out in this match was brilliant. I wanted to see more of it. I want to buy one of those puppets. It was great for me. I really was entertained.
They really should start to sell.
Yeah. Is it a 5-star match? No. Is it one of Harley's best matches we've seen her in? Yes. It's even progression like that Sasha is helping even getting Harley's name across and out there when really
it's Mercedes Moné, sis. You're calling her Sasha Banks. Mercedes Moné.
God. Yeah. Sorry. When did I start reverting to Sasha again? I have no idea. But
you said Banks at first. You said Banks at first,
God.
and then
I'm still Sasha. In WWE mode with her. Well, regardless, I think the match was great and I was well entertained, and I still want one of those puppets.
Yeah, I mean, Jaxie, you're a killjoy, but you must like Harley Cameron, surely. I mean, I know you don't laugh a lot, but come on.
Wow. No, I've got nothing but the exact same things that my sister and you have both said. I think this match was really enjoyable and highly entertaining. I thought it was a great match, like my sister said, for showcasing Harley. And I do think that she's just made the most out of what she can with the time that she's had, and she's used it well. She's utilized it well. There is not going to be like another person that probably didn't know who she was before working with Mercedes that is going to go away not knowing who she is now. So she's going to get a lot more attention shown to her, and she rightly should. She's an extremely talented woman. But this match was just entertaining. I enjoyed it. Again, I don't think that this was a 5-star match, but I think that it set out to do what it did. And that was just entertain us, but also kind of showcase Mercedes is still, the champion of 4 belts, and this is why. So it was a good match, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and this is the thing, Monty, where we've spoken about Moné before. This is her now doing the job that we know she could do. She can have 5-star matches, but like I said, building that talent now and helping this younger, stars out and put them on a bigger stage. It's perfect Mercedes Moné.
Yeah, a creative way of utilizing her. And again, I mean, it's not much Mercedes can't do. And I think for all those people who love to throw Hogan name behind her name now because she rarely loses, don't understand. A person like her rarely loses for situations like this. Like you mentioned, basically just establishing someone almost single-handedly with this feud, even though she was working hard before. and kind of built her name up. Like, again, I have to say I was impressed. And again, this is one of the situations where I got to turn my brain off and just be like, am I really impressed by her, or did I really just think I really didn't see nothing out of her at first? And I was like, is it one of those situations where is it because of I doubted that she could ever be this good, or is it because she actually is this good? And I think as the weeks have went by, especially with her being, like you mentioned, entertaining, this also proves my theory that a lot of people, especially on the internet, AEW fans who got something to say to me all the time, you guys are liars. You guys do love entertainers.
Whoa.
You guys do love entertainers, and you guys love storytelling. That's all I'm saying. Because like, if you ever listen to them, they make it seem like if you like or prefer WWE, you don't like wrestling. You just like entertainment, or you just like you like the other stuff. And it's just like, no, AEW literally is very much trying to be entertaining too. Like, I don't know why people think that they're not trying to be entertaining just because they prioritize wrestling or prioritize the Ospreys and the Okadas of the world. Those guys are still trying to entertain you. It's just different forms of it, or more of a wrestling base. But again, that I don't know. I feel like Harley Cameron has done everything you need to do. It's kind of like a Chelsea in a sense when it comes to just shining whenever you ask her to do something. And I must admit, like, yeah, she cracked me up when she was around Soraya, and even when she was making those early rap videos, I kind of understood, but I just didn't get it. I would look at them like, okay, well, she looks nice. I don't know why she's on my television screen at all, but as time has went on and week to week, she has done nothing but just get better. The promos are always at least worth the laugh. And then this match itself, like you guys mentioned, showcased her strong suits. And at the same time, it didn't make the entire match or entire segment feel goofy. So you got to give them props for that, because you got to find a balance. That's the thing. If you're going to be entertaining or funny, you got to also be able to make people believe in you or be serious. So I think they've done a good job of balancing that. And I've seen a lot of the naysayers who say, Mercedes and Harley just don't fit in the ring, or we look at Mercedes way higher than her. And I'm like, well, I mean, I think that's kind of the point. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole point of it, is that Mercedes looks at herself as higher than a Harley, and this was all about Harley proving or showcasing why she belongs, and I think she did that.
Yeah, I mean, and again, she only got her first win a couple of weeks ago. To get a title shot afterwards is pretty good. And like you said, and again, the story there will be interesting. One thing I want to talk about, actually, name changes, because we talked about Ricky Starks into Saints, but has anybody got a problem with Cope? I don't know if you've mentioned it. Of course, Adam Copeland, Edge, is now Cope.
I hate it.
Is everybody all right with that?
I hate it.
No, I
but
can't
again,
stand
I leave it be.
Oh.
I leave it be.
It just sounds so stupid. I'm sorry, it really does. I just no.
Yeah. It don't work. It don't work at all.
I'm not alone.
Just leave it.
It honestly sounds like Edge has gone to creative and said, right, we need to push Cope because I want to be down with the kids still. And I don't want to be known as Mr. Adam Copeland anymore. I want to be known as one name like Edge, but not Edge. So let's make it Edge. Yeah.
Not like Adam. His first
name. Not just Adam.
But good. I'm glad. Cope. Well, that's right. Well, Cope was in action with Jay White because they're best friends. And again, you can tell me why. Because of the Death Riders. And they're going to get the tag match. And we saw Cope getting emotional with the crowd singing his song. I mean, and again, I would get quite emotional if it didn't happen every time. But maybe this was just, I'm not being fair, this was last maybe Australian visit, and there was a lot of emotion in the air.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was a Brisbane brawl, so the rules were out the window. They were using weapons, putting each other through tables, fighting in the crowd. The usual no DQ match in AEW. Copeland took a big dive from the upper level to the floor. Do you know, we were talking earlier about Kenny Omega? Who should be more careful about jumping from high distances than fucking Adam Copeland? Come on, man. Where the Utah showed up with a belt and started whipping White. All it did was piss him off. Shafir and Utah helped the Death Riders gain control, and they eventually won by choking Copeland out. The crowd were chanting bullshit, which is never a good thing, Jaxie, is it? And again, I was a bit surprised that the Death Riders won.
I mean, yeah, I was surprised that they picked up this win, but at the same time, I don't know if this warranted a bullshit like chant. I probably would have just left it, to be honest, because of obviously, again, that for some reason, the Death Riders have proven that even if you piss off the entire locker room, no one's coming out to save them. But like the people that, it's almost like everyone forgets, oh, yeah, they beat me up a few weeks ago, and now they're like doing heinous things, and now Wheeler Ute has gotten himself involved like the little bitch he is. I should go help them. No, do you know what? No, I got beat up by them. It's fine. I'm going to stay in the back. That is exactly what they're proving right now. Because I was just like watching the end of that and watching Cope get choked out. And I remember just turning around to my sister and saying, is there no one in the back that is watching this and thinking, I might actually come out and get involved? A, because there's no DQ. B, because they beat me up a few weeks ago and I want revenge. Like, I could name a number of wrestlers that, the Death Riders have pissed off, have screwed over, and yet no one felt the need or want to come out. Okay, well, this is why they won. This is why they won.
The biggest offenders, the biggest offenders were FTR, because not only are they part of rated FTR, but they did win a match against the Death Riders, like a no DQ thing a couple of weeks ago. And they were like, we're done now. We'll just move on. Yeah,
it's like, we're not going to be present here. We're just going to leave our boy to it. He's moved on with someone else, so we can't be bothered to keep an eye out for him. Like even like the Outrunners. You telling me that y'all weren't going to come out for a save? During any of that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I didn't really see the point of people calling out bullshit, because I was like, well, what do you expect? There's no one coming out for the save. There's no one coming out and getting themselves involved when the Death Riders are proving to like get others involved. It just like, it always seems like they're outnumbered. And it was a shock that they did. I thought that they give Cope the win because of being just kind of away and in Australia, but it's just still putting over like the dominance of the Death Riders right now. Like, all it's showing is that the locker room are scared of the Death Riders right now, and even won't think about banding together to actually take this group out.
Yeah, well, either means that, or Gina, I might put this out there, because Jay White was closer to home, but he's still an idiot, and so is Cope, because you knew the rest of the Death Riders would come out anyway. So like I said, why wouldn't you have that planned?
Yeah, 100%. The thing is, it's not like this is brand new. This feud's been going on weeks, maybe even months. Like, how have you not prepared, knowing that there's going to be no DQs in this match? How have you not sat backstage with Cope, your tag partner, and discussed, right, we know that their other three guys are going to be out there at some point. We know that. We should probably look into seeing who's around that night and being like, yo, reckon you could give us a hand? Like, you didn't discuss any tactics backstage with your partner ahead of this match. It just seems a bit stupid in my eyes, especially when you know how popular Cope is anyway. Like, who wouldn't want to come for the rescue? Even Top Flight could have come running out just because they wanted to gain favor of the almighty Cope, like anything. Why didn't you discuss this? It just, you're trying to put these two into a tag team, but you're showing that they're not working as one. So it's no surprise that they lost.
Yep. That's an excellent point. We'll move on to the Continental Championship with Okada defending the belt against Matthews, who came out solo, but with a huge ovation from the crowd. The Rainmaker ignored a handshake and flipped Matthews off, which made him stalls. They started with a fast exchange of takedowns, but came to a stalemate. And I tell you what, it was great to see Matthews finally portrayed as a threat to someone on Okada's level. Okada acted like he was going to take his title and leave. I wasn't buying it. Matthews pulled up a good fight, but was unable to defeat the champion to win the title. Okada hit the second Rainmaker to close out the competitive bout. And Monty, as you know, Okada can do this, but again, this was more Buddy's moment, even though he lost.
Man, hey, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people, AEW fans, have criticized us New Japan people for kind of shitting on Okada. But it's not that we shitting on him. It's just that if it's not a pay-per-view, Okada is relaxed, man. He is chilling. Like, this is TV. This is like Okada at 60% maximum. And I know some people are like, really? Like, that was still pretty good to me. And I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying that New Japan people, we are used to seeing Okada. If he's not in a Roll 2 tag match, that means he is going 4.5 to 5-star level match quality. That's what we're used to. So when we just watch him in a big time one-on-one match, like you mentioned, Jay, here with Buddy, and by the way, Buddy worked his ass off. I heard he was hurt. And like the fact he was fighting an ankle or something while doing this match, insane. Like Buddy was giving it 100. Buddy knew that this meant a lot for him, and where, like you mentioned, James, like him being on a guy like Okada's stat, being look like a threat to a guy like Okada is big for him because he's always been a guy that we know can do it, but never have been actually looked at as a guy who could be on Okada's level, or at least any world champion type talent level. So this is great for Buddy, and that he was at home. So I know he was pumped up, and the fact that he was hurt, he did that well. That's just impressive. As impressive as it gets. But Buddy's always been impressive, man. He was an impressive cruiserweight. He's an impressive disciple. He's an impressive member of the House of Black, and now he's impressing as he seemed to be doing more solo stuff or whatever that he has going on now. So hopefully that just leads to more big things for Buddy. But it's just funny to me, man. I'm an AEW fan. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that he doesn't take AEW serious or whatever. I'm just saying this is 60% maximum level Okada. Okada has been phoning it in since he got that big money deal, and I don't blame him. You know, I say the same thing about Shinsuke Nakamura. There's a lot of people who come from Japan, come to America, get a lot of money, and they are chilling. They don't care. They're not asking to be booked specially or pulling politics. They just show up, do what they got to do, get the job done, and leave. And that's what Okada been doing. It's just funny because this is one of those matches you might not be able to tell by just watching. That's how good he is. But trust me, compare this match to the pay-per-view match from Okada, or compare this match to something that he did at Wrestle Kingdom. Completely different level.
Well, that's interesting. We'll speak about that in a second. Buddy wore the same vest as Rhea Ripley did, or the same design when she was at the Chamber last year, and used her move as well, which was a nice moment, Jaxie, for Buddy to do that. But as Monty just mentioned, I mean, what have you noticed with Okada? Because you did see the end of the New Japan over to AEW. Have you noticed a massive difference?
Definitely. I definitely agree that like this was like kind of more like a half cut like Okada in terms of like he wasn't putting in maximum effort, and I kind of don't blame him again in the sense of what Monty's saying. He's getting paid a lot of money and he's just having fun at the moment. I think like obviously we've discussed and not done like a full comparison, but done a few comparisons of like New Japan Wrestling as a company and the way they kind of come across like competitively compared to a lot more of an entertaining factor that Western wrestling brings across. And there's a major difference to it. It doesn't mean that, they're not still risking their bodies and their lives within the ring, but you could definitely tell that Okada is just having fun. And I'm not mad at that necessarily. We didn't get to see this funny side of Okada when he was in New Japan. Well, especially someone like me who maybe came in towards the tail end of his tenure. So for me, it's such a nice contrast. But yet again, I felt like this match was an amazing match for Buddy. Like this didn't really feel like it was a match mainly about Okada and the title. even though the title picture was involved, this was showcasing Buddy and, as Monty said, what he can do as a singles wrestler. And I just thought, again, so impressive coming out of it and hearing that he was injured and he had a bad ankle and everything. The fact that he put on that level of performance and the effort that he still put into that match, like that makes it feel like even better when you know that he was working like that. He's such a trooper through everything, and Monty just really did explain it well. Like he's just excelled at everything that he's been given, Buddy. So I do hope that this may be a start of a decent singles run. Who knows? Maybe we might end up seeing him carry a singles belt at some point, just like I imagine we will eventually see it on Brody. But I just enjoyed the match. I thought it was entertaining. You know, it's not a 5-star match, but I think, you know, to give Buddy that platform against someone like Okada and his stature, like, why not have fun with it for Okada and let Buddy like really like show his stuff. So I thought this was just a great showcase, to be honest.
Yeah, without a doubt. So we move on to the main event, AEW Women's Title, Mariah May versus Toni Storm. Luther appeared in the crowd as an usher, a signal for Storm's entrance. Her old theme began to play for its place by a timeless theme. Storm's mother made the gear for this match as well, and the former allies wasted no time getting right to the action. The Rate Storm took it to the champion and stomped her down the corner. And this was more physical than the previous encounter, also feeling more personal fight. Storm wasn't trying to play the timeless role as much as she was trying to hurt May. Both women hit their finishes in unsuccessful attempts to win, for Storm used an inside cradle to score the win to regain the world title. Your new AEW Women's Champion, Toni Storm. The crowd erupted as she was declared the victor, while May looked like she had suffered the greatest loss of her life. Gina, we talked about the build-up between the two. It's been great. And again, in this moment, with this crowd, it delivered.
Yeah, it did. Again, because we were so invested in the story, I just felt like I couldn't tear my eyes away from the screen. I think both of them did so well in just, you know, showcasing each other off, but also playing powerhouses. So again, I kind of had in mind that Toni was going to get this win back, especially because of like the trouble she went through when coming back, losing the belt, and then coming back and working her way up. But there were still moments where I was like, oh my gosh, is Mariah going to get this? And that's what you want in a match. You want that uncertainty, because then you're even more pleasantly surprised when you get the outcome. But I still take my hat off to both women because they gave a great match.
Yeah, and I think also, and Monty, I think you agree here, you know, we talked about the women's division, but there's one woman in AEW that has been booked better than Britt Baker. Toni Storm is the woman, the first ever 4-time champion, like I said, the face of the place, basically.
Yeah, man, it's really amazing when you think about it. Like you just said, you know, Britt Baker. When you think about the beginning of AEW, it was hard to see anybody else really being that person. And Toni Storm has come in and have not only separated herself from other like former WWE or former other company talents, she's also separated herself from like like you mentioned, Britt Baker and like AEW original women. So she's just like, it's kind of insane when you think about it that she's won the belt 4 times. And it doesn't feel like she's even been there that long, but she's done a lot in that time, different characters and different executions. And I think that's another reason why, again, I'm going back. I make the point about Harley, but this is another perfect example to anybody who thinks AEW is just wrestling and not character based. What does she have over most of the other women? And why is she in this position consistently? It's the investment in her character. People are invested in Timeless. People are invested in when she was a rookie, or you know, people were invested in when she first came to the company and she's just a rocker girl. You know, people were invested in when she was with Saraya and are doing all that. So every incarnation that she's pretty much been so far in AEW, she has found a way to get the people to care, and and that's not just wrestling based. That's character work. That's promos. That's sheer talent. Everybody knew coming into it when she got signed how talented she was, because when she left WWE, a lot of people knew WWE, what the hell are you doing? How you let someone like Toni Storm go? Or why would you piss her off to the point where she would even want to leave like that? And she's done nothing but picked herself up, reinvent herself constantly, and knock it out the park. And I'm kind of not sad. I kind of figured this was gonna happen, but when it comes to Mariah May's run, I think that's probably the only negative I could even say about it is outside of her work with Toni Storm and maybe the match with Thunder Rosa. I can't think maybe a couple other interesting things she did while she was champion. The stuff with Mina, I guess, was fine too. But other than that, other than the things she did with Toni Storm, they really didn't do much or do enough to me with Mariah. After a while, it just felt like we were waiting. Mariah was just waiting on Toni to return, waiting on Toni to acknowledge her when she did come back so we can get here to Australia. And it ended up being worth it. I'm not going to act like the payoff wasn't great. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that when you think about a championship run, Mariah's probably could have been more memorable if they had more interesting things for her to do in between winning the belt and this moment here. But this is still a great moment. Great for Toni in Australia. She does deserve it. I mean, she's probably she's one of the only women who I think over the last 3 years in a row has the argument for being the top woman in wrestling. And so, I mean, her being a 4-time champion just makes sense if you really think about it.
Yeah, without doubt. And the funny thing as well, Jaxie, if we think about it, if this was a pay-per-view, it would have been up there with the best. Obviously, we've had another 6 matches, but the matches we did have really delivered.
Yeah, each one was of high caliber wrestling, in my opinion, or highly entertaining. It was just really enjoyable to watch each and every one of these matches, and I think it was good build up, good storyline, and the decent amount of wrestling that was involved. Overall, it was decent, and it didn't run too long. I still get the whole argument about and what people lost out on with it not being a pay-per-view. These things happen, and it's so unfortunate that a lot of people may have lost out on a lot of money on that. But overall, the content itself was still decent, and I still enjoyed the product.
Yeah, well, I think, like I said, the crowd and everything like that was great. When you consider a pay-per-view would be another couple of hours, and matches might not have had the reaction that they had, and I think it was one of the best kind of AEW weekly shows that we've had in a very long time as well. Felt like a special kind of blood and guts or something like this. So I think overall it was a hit for AEW. Move on to the final Dynamite. MJF and Paige had a back and forth. The two best characters in the story that I can actually get into. I'm really looking forward to Revolution to see these two face. Joe Hook and Shibata are now the Ops. They are feuding with Christian and his boys. Now, do we like the name? The Ops as a name. I mean, it's out there. There are worse names.
It's short for the opposition, isn't it?
I have no idea. You would know more than I.
I think they did say it, confirm that's the name of it, the opposition. But I just okay. I don't know how to. Right, I'm not. Right. Okay. I'm trying to get my words out. I swear.
Steady yourself.
Have they got the same person in creating all these names, like the conglomeration? That one. I can never say the name. What's the word?
Conglomeration.
That one. Now there's the opposition. They need better creative on this. I think that there's definitely better names that they could have come up with, and these faction names as of late just haven't been interesting or catchy at all. They're a bit of a joke, and I'm really sorry, but as part of my job role, I'm part of the ops team as an operational, and it just that's all I get is that vibe. So to me, I'm not a big fan of the name.
You telling me you're in a group with Hook and Samoa Joe now, Lynn? Oh no.
I mean, I would love to preach that. But sadly no.
Yeah, I mean, culturally, I don't know how to really explain it. I think what you just mentioned is a perfect reason why it's probably not why it probably don't work, because it's a name you got to explain. And I'm like I know what it means, even besides
Exactly.
opposition or opponent. Like I know exactly what they're going for, because like not only in hip hop but just in urban street culture, so to speak, your ops is like your enemy, like that. So like they are the ops. Like usually you don't want to be the ops. The ops are like who you're going to get. But I guess the whole point of it, especially from a Samoa Joe perspective, is we gonna beat your ass. We are your ops. So I get it. I get that point of view. I get why it fits Joe. That's the thing. It fits Joe, and I maybe Hook a little bit, but then watching Shibata stand and be a part of the ops, it's just so hilarious to me. But yeah, the problem is you got to explain it to so many people, and that's always hard to kind of work when you have to explain it to that extent. I get it because that's literally coming from our culture over here, but yeah, I have to sit here and explain it to a whole bunch of people. It's
Yeah,
probably not a good
yeah,
name.
no. Well, anyway, the build to Big Bill and Hobbs has been so good. I was actually looking forward to it, and I think the match lived up to the hype. Would that be fair to say, Gina? Because they have been building, and again, I think they delivered.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, they've been building it for a while, and it's not even just between Hobbs and Big Bill. Big Bill's gone against loads of people, and he's just showed how dominant he is with his height, his size compared to everyone else. So the build up to seeing him versus Will Hobbs, because Will Hobbs is literally on his level, you knew you were going to get a hard hitting match. They both didn't need to hold back with each other, and it was just, like I said, hard hitting. I definitely think that the match was worth the payoff. I think they both gave it their all, and fair play to that. Part of me, it's not that I don't like Big Bill. Part of me is worried, like, where he's so linked to Chris Jericho, like Chris Jericho always taking the light away from actual Big Bill. So I do hope at some point, what's Chris Jericho's little faction called now?
Learning tree.
Yeah, at some point I really hope that Brian Keith and Big Bill just pull away from the learning tree or whatever. I'm kind of over Chris Jericho and seeing him on my screen, and I feel like whenever there's a match for Big Bill, it's more overshined by Jericho's presence.
And I can't help going, Big Bill, every time I see him. But hopefully they put the Ring of Honor title on Hobbs and have Big Bill retire Jericho. I mean, you can dream.
That would be ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's what we want.
I don't really care what happened to the belt, but yeah, just retire Jericho.
Toni Storm stood in the spotlight and she talked about her win at Grand Slam, talking about her massive package. Yeah. Taz loved it, and so did we. She said she wanted to do an open invitation to anybody from Chris Statlander to Wendy Richter to step up. We then saw Megan Bain beat Chris Statlander thanks to Ford. And in the main event, Orange Cassidy beat Roderick Strong for the chance to fight Kenny Omega. There might have also been a title shot somewhere, but I didn't really pay attention. But Monty, what's important is who faces Kenny, not anything else.
Man, he's that more important than even the world championship at this point. You win a right to fight Kenny. Screw Moxley or screw any of these other belts. We have so many belts at this point too. But anyway, yeah, man. I'm excited for it. They're gonna do great. Honestly, I'm just, James, I'm just gonna go ahead. And I don't know if I said this yet on this show, but times like this when you have people literally winning shots to fight the number one guy who's for some reason not technically the number one guy because he's not the champion. Yeah, man, I'm with you on that Moxley stuff, man. I was trying to give it a chance at World's End when you told me you hated or you said Moxley was overrated, and I was like, oh no, come on, maybe we're going somewhere. All right, but where we need to go is because I don't really care about Copeland fighting Moxley either. Because if Copeland wins the belt, I don't know if I'm gonna be madder or happy at this point. But what we need to do is Kenny, let Kenny get his legs under. Maybe I don't want to give it to him yet, but we need Kenny to take this belt off Moxley so we can just get the real number one guy on top of the company. Because I know we all know who the number one guy is.
I thought you were going to say we were going to get the Kenny Continental Classic, where 16.
Oh yeah, might as well
just defeat Kenny.
Well.
You know,
yeah, exactly.
That's what we want.
Screw it. You're 100% right. You know what? Moxley can keep the belt. Let's just do a Continental Classic for a chance to fight Kenny Omega.
But again, I think you make a great point as well. We talked about Death Riders, not mentioned them as much, and it's kind of the same old thing. And Jaxie, you're going to have the chance now to kind of sum up AEW since World's End, as we are here, a couple of weeks away from Revolution. So what are your thoughts on the recent product?
I mean, personally, just to kind of add on to all of that, I would have swapped the main event of Roderick Strong and Orange Cassidy with Will Hobbs and Big Bill's street fight. I think that was like a much more impactful way to have ended AEW, in my opinion. I think that match went harder. And again, as you guys rightly pointed out, this wasn't even like a number one contender match to face the champions. This was just to face someone. So, I was a little bit baffled by that. I also need to quickly just bring up the really strange ending to the women's match, the Chris Statlander match, where Thunder Rosa came out to make the save. I can't tell if this was Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford no-selling Thunder Rosa, or if this was just a really awkward encounter that no one knew was happening and no one knew how to react. But it was all kinds of awkward. And it's like, if it is a no-selling sort of thing, like, guys, give Thunder Rosa a break. She's only just returned, and like, why are we no-selling for a fellow female wrestler? It's like, get with it. So I don't know what was happening there, but that just really baffled me as well, because it just didn't really come across okay. Overall, I feel like there are ups and downs to the start of AEW for this year. I feel like we're dipping the ball in some cases, and I quite agree with Monty that right now with Kenny's return, at some point we just need to get Kenny to take the belt from Mox, because I don't know how much more of this Death Rider stuff is really keeping the attention of the audience over whoever wants to face Kenny Omega next. So I just feel like we need to kind of like get there somehow now. That I feel like we've got some real good sort of like potential moments that could really heighten AEW, but right now I feel like we're at an even level. Like, it's not on a real high, but it's not on a downpour either. It's currently sitting safe. And I think that we just need to kind of change certain things up within the division, within the storylines, use some fresh faces. I feel like lately AEW has, or creative, or Tony has been really hitting heavy with a lot of nostalgia, whether or not that's Legends returning, whether or not it's, focusing on just sort of like old wounds or anything like that. But we need to kind of like freshen things up again, and I hate to say it, but I feel like the roster right now are even lacking those, like the Darby Allins, the fresh faces have kind of fallen off. Like Sammy Guevara's off in Ring of Honor, Jack Perry's doing God knows what in New Japan right now. Young Bucks are nowhere to be seen. So it's kind of like we need to like focus on like the fresh faces of the division right now and start heightening them up, and rather than actually focusing a lot of time on sort of Legends and like, sorry to purposely call this out, but Jeff Jarrett and the storylines and stuff, just the amount of screen time that he's getting compared to sort of like, and even like Jericho's screen time compared to like newer face wrestlers that we should be elevating. Like, did we forget like Daniel Garcia's the TNT champion again? Like, I think you brought that up earlier. And it's like, I don't really know, like, right now what's kept my attention about his current run. Monty was talking about the run that Mariah May had in between anything to do with her Tony Storm storyline, and it's, these fresh faces, like, I've got the belt, but that the storylines are not like the greatest at the moment. So let's like focus more on that. So that's what I'm hoping going forward. And Revolution is coming up right now with what they're doing. They're building up for what could be a really good pay-per-view. And time will only tell over the next few weeks with how they continue to build these storylines, and hopefully also maybe look to elevate more fresh faces at Revolution. I'm sorry, excuse me. But again, as much as I even love Cope, it's like, let's focus some more screen time on the younger fresh faces, the Will Hobbs, the Big Bills, and see where we can go. But let's take a chance. I think AEW needs to take a leap of faith at this point.
Yeah, well, I can feel your pain, Jax. I really can, and hopefully it does improve. So, final question, Gina, I'll ask you this as well. It's quite simple as well. Is AEW in a better place as we head towards Revolution as we were at World's End?
No. In my eyes, no. I don't think that there is a consistency when it comes to the storylines. I think there's one or two storylines that we've got going on, but the rest of the matches that appear on Collision, on Dynamite, they just seem sporadic still, and they need to just have a steady flow of storylines. They need to be consistent with their female storylines, not just put someone in a feud for a week or two and then dead it off and forget it and not even give it a proper end. There's still a lot they need to clean up. So no, I don't think that they're in a better position, to be honest. I think they're staying the same. I think they're stagnant right now.
Well, we'll find out. Like we said, we've got Revolution even in a couple of weeks. So we'll look forward to that. But that is it for today. Don't forget, across all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod. James, you can find the entire WNR team on the banner. Also now on Blue Sky, WNR Podcast and Reddit. Jaxie, where can people find and follow you?
I'm across Instagram and Twitch at Jaxie Scarlett, and X, of course, at Jaxie Scarlett.
And Monty?
At my Monty Pod on Twitter.
Perfect. And finally, Gina?
Yeah, you can find me on the same at Purple Pain.
But also on Facebook and Instagram. We're updating it, so go on there and check all the new stuff. Send us an email at podcast@gmail.com, and YouTube as well, where we've got loads of clips going up there and podcasts go at the same time on YouTube, as do SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. So that is it. We've got a full schedule coming up. Next episode will be NXT Vengeance Day. And again, there's something that happens that I'm going to be so fucking excited for. And then we'll have the Chamber, and then finally Revolution. So it's all going to be good. But until then, I've been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. Jaxie, thanks for joining me. I know AEW means so much, and that's why I can hear the hurt in your voice. It hurts me.
As always, it's been fun and entertaining. I look forward to the next one.
And of course, the mind of Monty. And Monty, next week, I might I don't know how you're going to deal with it, you know?
I'm not. I'm just going to ignore you.
Oh, that's great. And of course, the genius of Gina. Gina, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Always. I always enjoy myself. But no, it was a great show today. I had fun just reviewing some of the weekly shows, because again, there's a lot that happens on the AEW shows, and when we kind of more focus on the pay-per-views, sometimes it helps doing a review like this to kind of show where we're up to right now.
Without a doubt. Well, I'd just like to thank all three of you, of course, part of the WNR team. We've got to 550 episodes. I'm sure there'll be plenty more still to come. So thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.